I need to be blunt. The world is on the brink of a catastrophic moral failure. And the price of this failure will be paid with lives and livelihoods in the world's poorest countries.
These words are a confession by the most authoritative figure. The statements of the Director General of the World Health Organization indicate that the goal of fair distribution of vaccines worldwide seems to fail. Although the only hope for humanity is the vaccines to end the pandemic, vaccines have started to be administered in a small number of countries in the world. The discrimination poor countries face in economy, politics, and world order also manifests itself in the case of vaccination. 90-year-old Margaret Keenan in England was the first person to be vaccinated in the world on December 8. Vaccination started to be applied in 58 countries to a total population of 4,627,000,000. Although almost 3 months have passed since the first vaccine, extensive vaccination has not yet started in 136 countries to a population of 3,212,000,000. Most of these countries are poor countries in the Southern Hemisphere. No one has yet been vaccinated, except for clinical trials in 51 countries in Africa, 45 in the Asia-Pacific region, 26 in Central and South America, and 14 in Europe.
Aşıda da gördüğümüz en büyük sıkıntı ülkeler yahut da bölge olarak sağlık için yeterli kaynak üretemiyorlar ve bunun için daha kapsamlı politikalar tasarlayamıyorlar ve vatandaşların da finansal korumaya altına alamıyorlar.
So far, Pfizer-BioNTech, Moderna, AstraZeneca Oxford, and CoronaVac vaccines are in the foreground in the market. But the fact that effective vaccines approved for emergency use are reserved by high and middle income countries through bilateral agreements, hence shows the injustice in access to vaccines. Developed countries have already spared all vaccines to be produced and put underdeveloped countries behind. Israel, which paid for the vaccine above the market value in addition to early ordering, has vaccinated a significant portion of its population. Another striking issue in the vaccine market is the inconsistency in price policies. Again, South Africa, which ordered 1.5 million doses from AstraZeneca, is paying $5.25 per dose for the vaccine, while EU countries are expected to pay $2.18 for this vaccine dose.
Aşının yaygın şekilde tüm ülkelerde bilimsel öncelikler sıralamasına göre uygulanmadığı zaman pandemiyi durdurma imkanımız yok ve pandeminin durdurulamaması tüm ülkeleri etkileyecek bir şey. Dolayısıyla da tek bir ülkedeki insanların pandemiden korunması, tüm imkanlara erişmesi maalesef o ülkedeki insanların korunduğu anlamına gelemiyor.
In Europe, there is a vaccine tension at the point of distribution. AstraZeneca and Pfizer-BioNTech informed the European Union that they will fall short of their supply target due to production problems. The fight between the EU and vaccine manufacturers is escalating over the failure to meet the promised amount of vaccines. The EU accuses companies that go to shipping restrictions within the continent of resuming shipments elsewhere, reminding that Europe has invested billions of euros in the development of vaccines. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen urged vaccine producers to fulfill their shipping obligations. The EU, which seems to have difficulty in meeting the number of vaccination targets in member countries, will establish a transparency mechanism to monitor the export of vaccines outside the Union. Although it has been claimed that this mechanism does not amount to a ban or restriction on the export of vaccines to non-EU countries, it raises concerns. These concerns also reinforce the debates that Europe is acting selfish.
Avrupa Birliği'nin hedefi yılın ilk 2 çeyreğinde yani bütün yetişkin nüfusunu aşılamayı hedefliyor. Oysa bakıyoruz ki bu COVAX kapsamında öncelikli ihtiyaç sahibi olduğu tayin edilen düşük ve orta gelirli 92 ülkeye henüz tek doz aşı ulaştırılabilmiş değil. Zengin ülkelerin, yüksek ve orta gelirli ülkelerin aşıları rezerve etmiş olması nedeniyle ve üreticilerin de oradaki ön satım anlaşmalarına icabet etmek için üretim yapacakları öngörüsüyle bu ülkelere yılın ilk çeyreğinden önce aşı ulaştırılması öngörülmüyor.
However, there is no expectation that low-income countries will vaccinate even a third of their population in the foreseeable future. Africa, home to 1.35 billion people, is the most striking example of inequality in vaccine distribution. A total of 120,000 vaccines have been applied in only 3 countries on the continent so far. In the central and southern parts of the continent, also referred to as sub-Saharan, there is still no country where vaccination has started.
İlk aşılamaya Rusya 5 Aralık'ta başladı Gamaleya aşısıyla. Daha sonra İngiltere'de Pfizer aşısıyla başladı ve ben dün kontrol ettim. Dünyada bu One World Data'dan dünyada şu ana kadar 71 milyon doz aşı yapılmış ve ne yazık ki bu aşıların 61 milyon yani yaklaşık %85'i 10 ülkede yapılmış.
The World Health Organization is at the center of criticism in the matter of fair distribution. Although the World Health Organization calls for the distribution of vaccines equally among low and middle-income countries, it has so far failed in practice. The organization wants to ensure that poor countries have fair access to vaccines through the COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access Program, known as COVAX. In this context, COVAX plans to start distributing vaccines to 92 countries in February. By the end of the year, it has a target to distribute 2 billion doses of vaccines worldwide. But there are still dozens of countries where vaccines cannot be supplied to.
Gücü yeten, imkanı olan ülkelerin aşılamada daha öne geçmek için bir takım anlaşmalar yaparak, yüksek meblağlı anlaşmalar yaparak, daha fazla para ödeyerek, üreticilerin kendileri için daha fazla üretmelerini sağlamaları yoluyla COVAX gerçekleşmez. Belki bir başka değinilebilecek nokta da aşı üreticilerinin öncelikle aşıyı yüksek fiyatta alabilecek ülkelerdeki düzenleyici mekanizmalara başvurularını yaparak bu ülkelerden kabul almaya çalışmalıdır.
Vaccine competition among countries has also created a brand new competition, vaccine nationalism.
Vaccine nationalism only helps the virus.
Not sharing the vaccine equally and fairly will prevent the pandemic from being completely controlled. Vaccination discussions have once again exposed the political and economic injustice in the world. It seems that hundreds of millions of people living in poor countries will pay for the great powers as getting priority in vaccine access.